Hello kids! Welcome to our English grade 6 class. We are now on the second quarter, week 6, day 2. And our objective for today is to organize information from secondary sources in preparation for writing, reporting, and similar academic tasks in collaboration with others. Good day! Today, you will learn on how to organize information from secondary sources in preparation for writing, reporting, and similar academic tasks in collaboration with others. Why is it important for you to be informed every day? And how do you keep yourself informed? What are your sources of information? There are several sources of information. But today, we are going to discuss and focus on secondary sources of information. But before we proceed, let us try to find out what is a secondary source of information. A secondary source provides second-hand information. Take note of that, second-hand information that has been digested, analyzed, and rewarded, and interpreted. Secondary sources are often written well after the event they report on, and can put the past information into its historical context. We have several examples of secondary sources. First, let's have the Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia is a book or set of books giving information on many subjects or on many aspects of one subject, and typically it is arranged alphabetically. Second is the magazine. So you are familiar with magazine, right? It is a periodical publication containing articles and illustrations. So typically covering one particular subject or area of interest. We have another example. The third example is a biography. And a biography is an account of someone's life written by someone else. So for example, a well-known personality was interviewed by a reporter or a writer, and the different information coming from him or her will be published soon. So that will serve as her biography or his biography, and that is an example of secondary source of information. Here are other examples of secondary sources. We have journal. Journal is a daily record of news and events of personal nature. One example of this is a diary. We have also books. A book is a written or printed work consisting of pages that contain different subjects and topics. We have also documentaries. Documentaries consist of official pieces of written, printed, or other matter. In addition to secondary sources, we also have history that contains the whole series of past events connected with someone or something. So if you've happened to read history books, this is very informative kind of source of information because you can discover the past. You can get information about the past. Another is an editorial, which is a newspaper article written by or on behalf of an editor that gives an opinion or a topical issue. So editorial also is one of the favorite source of information of our adults. Why? Because whatever current issues or current events we have in our country, the editor-in-chief give his insight or her insight about the topic. So they are going to convince you to believe on their opinions or their belief as well. And lastly is a critical analysis. A critical analysis is a subjective writing because it expresses the writer's opinion or evaluation of a text. So for example, there is a specific text, and then the writer will evaluate the text, and then he will give an opinion about the text, whether it is very informative or whether the content of that specific text will be helpful for the readers. So we have different kinds of secondary sources of information wherein you can get a lot of information that would help you in the future. So there are still different kinds of sources of information, but um, what I've mentioned earlier are the common, or you can easily find these sources of information anywhere else. We still have other secondary sources of information aside from the different examples I have mentioned earlier. But what do you think are the advantages of secondary sources? The following are the advantages of the secondary sources. First, it can be easily obtained. So you can buy anywhere else. On simple bookstores, okay, or magazines, you can just buy it anywhere else. So you can easily obtain this kind of secondary sources. Second, it is often available free of charge. So what do you mean by that? Of course, you can just borrow books from the library. You can borrow magazines from your friend. So it is free of charge. And you were informed, right? And the third is it is available on the internet and the library. So you are very lucky nowadays because you don't need to go to bookstores or libraries, but you can just surf on the internet in order to access the secondary sources. And lastly, it provides the basis of comparison. So if you are having a research or if you want to be informed more about specific topic or your area of interest, you can easily browse on the internet or visit a library in order to find the secondary source of information that you need or you like to read. So after reading the different secondary sources, I guess you already have the information that you're looking for. And how do we organize the information from secondary sources? Here are the different tips on how you're going to organize the information from secondary sources. First, you have to present the facts in chronological order. So what do we mean by this? You have to present the facts in order in which they happened. And second, you also need to present the problem and the solution. So beginning with here's what the problem was and ends with here's how we solve it. And here are the results we achieve. So you may also use the inverted pyramid in organizing your thoughts. This is the newspaper style of news reporting in which the lead paragraph summarizes the story. So giving the reader the who, the what, the when, where, why, and how. The paragraphs following present the key facts in order of decreasing importance. So meaning from the most important up to the least important or down to the least important. You can also use this format in journal articles, company newsletters, press releases, memos, letters, and reports. Another strategy is the use of deductive order. In this style, it starts with a generalization, a theme you want to support, or a point you want to make. Then, support it with as many facts as you want and observations as possible. You may also try the inductive order, wherein it begins with specific instances and examples, and then it leads the reader to the idea of general principle the evidence supports or suggests. Lastly, you may try the priority sequence. In this style, there are rank recommendations, problems, concerns, issues, or other items from the most important to the least important. An ideal format for writing a letter or a memo recommending a series of steps or actions. So I guess you already knew how to organize the different information from secondary sources. Now, look at your modules and let us practice what you have learned from our discussion. Are you ready to explore? Now, answer your modules. Thank you very much for listening and have a nice day ahead.